Alright everyone, welcome back to another Complexity Casting presentation, bringing you HoN Tour coverage. This is Gold Division Losers Bracket Semifinals between coLcast and Team Please. coLcast finds themselves up 1-0 in the series with absolutely dominating play in the later game stages of the last game. Draconis able to just get so farmed to consistently great initiations there by Magnus and nice Tempest ultimates as well. You know, they were just able to make it work. Found themselves winning that game quite handily with a 20,000 gold and 20,000 experience advantage at the end of the game. I got into this game just a little bit after it started, so unfortunately I wasn't able to see what blind bands were. We can maybe deduce them, as it looks like Warbeast, Parasite, Ophelia, and Tremble. So Warbeast, Parasite, Ophelia, and Tremble. Those are going to be your blind bands. Now, Warbeast was not banned last game, nor was he picked. So a little bit interesting to see that he is in fact blind banned here. Interesting. But enough of those guys. We're going to go into the lock pick because we are already well into this picking stage. He's in fact going to be Bubbles, Tempest. We do have Keeper of the Forest, Pharaoh, Pestilence, and Wild Soul making it into the lock phase. So Wild Soul makes it in. He was banned last time. Keeper of the Forest as well. So two of the best jungling suicide heroes in the game are going to be making it in. And of course, more suicides in the way of Pharaoh, Bubbles. Even Tempest can be played as a suicide. We'll see which of those do make it in. And of course, Pestilence, the odd man out, I would say. A hero that just really doesn't get seen in the competitive scene very often. He was locked by the jellyfish for coLcast. He needs a lot of farm. He did just get a change this week where his flight now is 5 seconds shorter, 20 seconds instead of 25 seconds, but he no longer takes additional damage as a result of having that activated. So maybe that was the change that he needed to get him back into people's minds. And once he gets farm, he can do a ton of damage with the ultimate, all that. But oh man, we already have some odd picks going out. The bands: Jeremiah, Fade, Silhouette, Pebbles, Draconis, Dark Lady. Yeah, really nothing to talk about there. Completely standard bands. On the other side, though, we do have first pick comes out as Tundra. So should be very nice to have that hero in the game, providing a ton of actual map control with great initiation potential as well. Tundra fits himself into the suicide role, mid, whatever you want to put him in, even the solo short. So very, very good pick to start off with. Countered immediately by the strongest lane in the business, Magnus Engineer. Not necessarily the strongest lane, but I will say that it is. It's the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. The double stun combination that players love to run in that middle lane. Magnus Engineer, Maggineer, Engimus. Oh, we'll work on that one. We will work on that one. But immediately counterpicked by Sandwraith Empath. So I was watching a little bit on HoNcast yesterday when Karma was calling "Fuck you, Curdy," and they were playing, I want to say, Sandwraith Empath. I can't recall. I was listening to it while I was cutting VODs, and I wasn't paying a ton of attention, but I think they were playing Sandwraith Empath. So we'll see. I mean, they didn't have success with it yesterday because they did get 2-0'd, but choosing to run it once again, it's a lineup that they obviously do enjoy. So we'll see. The ability to put that Empath in the Sandwraith and then teleport around the map. I mean, you get a lot of movement speed, a good amount of slow with the Sandwraith, and then a wall to set up good positioning. We'll see. Interesting. Final pick out of the standard pool is going to be Soul Reaper. So a hero that we've seen quite a bit recently, and a nice counter to Keeper of the Forest. Putting him in the solo short lane against Keeper of the Forest works actually very, very well. Soul Reaper is one of the only heroes that able to push back Keeper of the Forest, just because he does have those AoE nukes and keeps himself up on high amounts of HP, and does very well against that hero. So we'll see if they do put him in that short lane to counteract that suicide. Now, the lock-picking phase. First pick is, in fact, Keeper of the Forest, so we were just talking about that. Most likely going to be suiciding with that hero. We also do have... Oh, wait, hold on. Keeper of the Forest is not going to be suiciding. He will be jungling, most likely, now looking at their lineup. But following that one, Tempest Wild Soul come out for SOZO, a.k.a. Team Please. And they're going to be using those ones, so... Not bad. Wild Soul, of course, does have that great suicide potential, which is what he will be doing for sure. And Tempest going to be in the jungle, farming his heart out. Last pick in the game, though, is Pharaoh. Going to be played by the Jellyfish up here for Call It Karma. So it looks like Pharaoh is actually going to be going... I don't know what is going on here. Pharaoh, Sandwraith, Empath are all heading toward that top lane. I would expect Keeper of the Forest to be in the jungle, and then a Pharaoh and a Tundra both soloing in mid and bottom. But I don't know. Pharaoh's really just hauling ass up there. He's going to drop the ward to, of course, block the pull spot. Now, short lane Soul Reaper, obvious. Magnus Engineer, obvious. Suicide, Wild Soul. Yeah, completely standard lineup here for Team Please. Absolutely easily predictable. So at Call It Karma, they can try to devise their lane strategy to whatever they want. And it looks like Pharaoh might be going bottom. He's going to be moving all of his stuff up here with the courier. Yeah, so I would expect him to be going bottom. Ward's already dropped here for Ninja of the Team Please team. Sound is a little bit to the right. Well, I can't really do anything about that. I'm sorry. The sound's the same. I haven't messed with anything, but I hope that it isn't too much to the right. It's the same way that it always is. All right, so Pharaoh now moves down into that bottom lane where he will be soloing against the Wild Soul. Now, Pharaoh should have a not terrible time down there. Wild Soul will, of course, be able to drag the lane like he's doing, get himself some better lane position. But the amount of kill potential for the Wild Soul onto the Pharaoh is not super high. So I wouldn't expect Pharaoh to be dying. And he, of course, with that hatchet, will be able to get decent CS. But once that bear does get a little bit tanky and with some boots, should be able to punish the Pharaoh for being a little too far up as well. But we'll have to see. Pharaoh grabs the last hit with that hatchet. Well executed. Now Tundra up against Magnus here in the middle lane. This is going to be a matchup that we're going to need to watch. The Iron Buckler should be able to keep him safe from a lot of the harassment coming out of the Engineer. And with the Cold Shoulder, he's able to actually do a little bit of damage. Nice keg, though, coming out of Ninja. Top lane harassment coming out as well as Soul Reaper being driven back by this Empath. Now, it's kind of interesting to note that both of those heroes have a spell that heals themselves while damages the other. So, turnaround heal potential in that lane is great. We'll see if that comes into play at all. Engineer actually doing a nice job of pushing that Tundra forward once again with the Lava Surge, trying to get the body blocks. And will they be able to get the kill? It doesn't look like it. Engineer going to take a couple of tower attacks there, trying to get that done. Soul Reaper ports to the middle lane. So they're going to be doing a little bit of a lane swap. Soul Reaper will have a much easier time here against the Tundra than he would have up top. So I like that. They needed to change those lanes up. I'd also like to see Call It Karma actually go with... let me change the overlay once again. There we go. Always forget about that dumb overlay. Call It Karma, I would like to see them actually change their lanes up again as well. Moving the Sandwraith Empath toward that middle lane would force Soul Reaper to make another change. And then Sandwraith can actually move to the bottom lane and solo and bring the Pharaoh out onto the map, which would be maybe even better. So making their way toward the bottom with consistent lane changes could be one way that they could approach that. But if they leave it the way that it is, that would be perfectly fine too. 2-on-2 in the top lane, solos in bottom and middle. Pharaoh actually taking a ton of harass here from the Wild Soul. Now, without that Iron Buckler, he is going to be a lot more susceptible to harass than he might otherwise be. Choosing instead, of course, to get that hatchet so that he can get a little bit of CS. But it looks like Wild Soul is having a dominating time down here. Currently at 12 and 2 creep score as opposed to the 9-0 for Pharaoh. Now, we see in the middle lane, Tundra just taking a ton of harassment from that Soul Reaper. Soul Reaper just doing a great job with that one, trying to pick up some of these last hits, but not quite able to. He's going to miss 2 and 3 of that wave, so that's unfortunate. You want to be able to hit those off the tower, but sometimes the tower, just like that, doesn't really give you the room that you need in order to make those last hits happen. Tempest is making his way up top, though, and Empath's out of position. The keg, as well as the Lava Surge, going to come in. The Desert's Curse are being applied, as well as the heal up there from Empath. Going to be on the Magmus. Will they be able to get the kill here? The Glacial Blast come out, and down goes Empath. Bloodlust is going to be for the Dr. Rose on Tempest. Now, a return kill for Sandwraith. He does have boots. That's why he's able to get up there and with that Desert's Curse catch up. I don't know that it was worth it, though. He won. He might die here. Yeah, there's a good chance that he's doing a good job, and actually he will get out of there. So, the illusion, will they be able to get that? No. So, Sandwraith will be falling back. Grabs the illusion just so that Tempest cannot get it right there. But with that Sandwraith, if he had just kind of fallen back, waited for the rest of the team to kill his Empath, and not overextended like that, he might have actually farmed better and been in a better situation overall. But wanting to get that return kill onto the Engineer, not the worst decision. Pharaoh, level 5, still trying to get some stuff done, but while also effectively using that bear to put some pressure in, make sure that Pharaoh's not able to too easily farm, and of course keeping the lane way, way back. Pharaoh goes with a Gloves of the Swift. So in addition to the boots that he's got, he's going to be going for the Steam Boots very quickly here. But a little bit interesting to see Gloves of the Swift coming out rather than just pooling the gold, as you so often see. I guess he wants to have a little bit faster of attack animation, something like that, and get those last hits maybe just a slight bit easier. Pharaoh already has a pretty good attack for getting last hits, but he's at what, 18-1 right now, so doing decently well against this Wild Soul. Almost keeping up in levels. A nice root can be applied. Oh, top lane, though. Lava Surge is going to come out onto the Sandwraith. And the keg as well. Going to be walking straight through that steam turret, which has done a lot of damage. It's going to be about 3 more auto attacks. Will they be able to get it? 1 more auto attack. A nice wall, though. The Illusory Veil being put up by Tempest, or excuse me, by Empath. And not quite able to get the Sandwraith. He falls back. And he's going to be standing pretty far back, but he's on very low HP. If he eats a Lava Surge, which Magnus does have available, then he would most certainly be biting the dust. Soul Reaper bottles up a haste, and will he go for the kill in bottom lane? The Pharaoh is a little bit vulnerable, but no, he's going to return toward that middle. Oh, top lane. Down goes Sandwraith, just what I said. If he ate a Lava Surge, he was dead, and so that's what happened. Pressed up a little bit too far, got a little bit too greedy, and Ninja takes home that kill. So Almay dying once again. Hey, Almay had a very rough start in the last game, dying 2 or 3 times in that solo short lane as Draconis against the aggressive tri-lane. But he did recover extremely, extremely well in terms of getting back into the game, gets his farm back. So we'll see if he's going to be able to do that again. Sandwraith, of course, a hero that you take it super late game, not a problem. Oh, Keeper of the Forest comes out, uses the root, summons the Tree Dogs. The curse is applied, and there's actually 3 TPs coming in as Wild Soul and Tundra, or excuse me, Tundra and Sandwraith both get their hands in the pot for that one. Now 4 players in this bottom lane. They're going to be able to easily push this tower. They might lose their top tower for it, though, as Tempest Elementals are going to come in. Those are level 3 Tempest Elementals, so doing a decent amount of damage. Of course, not replicating just yet. One of them gets off right there. The 3 Legion players are going to try to take down this defensive tower. Tree Dogs being summoned once again, and they're going to be able to get this one pretty damned easily. In the top lane, though, the Hellborn trying to get this one down, and they're not quite able to. The keg's going to come out, stuns Keeper of the Forest and Empath, so they're going to be able to back out without taking too much harm. health potion applied before Pharaoh decides to use that Wrath of the Pharaoh to try to chase or not. Being able to land that on somebody like the Engineer or the Tempest would, of course, be very, very nice. Sandwraith working on finishing up Steam Boots of his own. Invisible, hasted Soul Reaper, though. He does spot out Sandwraith. He doesn't spot out the Sandwraith. So, Alma living life on the edge there. Could have been in a ton of trouble. There's no doubt in my mind that Soul Reaper would have been able to kill him. Maybe TP support could have come in and been able to force him off, but I think that Sandwraith would have died if he had in fact spotted him there. The Death Pulse comes out in the middle lane, does a ton of damage to Tundra. Tundra at 900 HP maximum, but without a Mystic Vestments, he's taking a lot of damage. I think it's close to 220, 250, 280 actually for that level 4 Death Pulse. So a huge amount of damage, to be honest. And with that turnaround potential, that's why Soul Reaper is actually being picked up quite a bit more recently than we've seen in the few months before this. But last 2 or 3 weeks, Soul Reaper maybe making his way back here. Of course, a lot of players do talk about his potential for being a counter to Keeper of the Forest. So you see him in the lock pool. You pick Soul Reaper just before picking that Keeper of the Forest, and now that Keeper of the Forest can't suicide as easily and is relegated into the jungle, just like we saw in this game. So I liked that strategy coming out of Team Please. Here in the middle lane, Soul Reaper might be in a little bit of trouble as 4 players from the Legion are teaming up. They're going to go ahead and try to take down this tower and make that 2 for their tower kill advantage. Top lane, though, Magnus and Tempest are going to try to even it up. But will they be able to get there in time before the Hellborn team chooses to port on out? Actually, port's coming in here from the Hellborn. And we'll see if this is going to be a team fight or not. A keg going to be missing. But, oh, a Wrath of the Pharaoh misses as well. The Hellfire being applied onto Magnus. A deny comes in from the Hellborn. And it looks like there's not going to be any further initiation. The tree is going to try to back out of there. And, yeah, he's going to get out. So 2 missed spells, and neither team decides to initiate after the missed keg, and then on the other's team, the missed Wrath of the Pharaoh. One of those is a little more important than the other, of course, but I'll let you be the judge of which. No judgment here. Wild Soul getting to work on these Ancients, sends the bear home, doesn't want that one to die, but this is just one of the strengths of Wild Soul in that suicide position. Even if for some reason he was not able to get decent farm in the lane, starting at as soon as level 6, level 7, Wild Soul is able to actually pretty effectively farm Ancients. Single stacks, even double stacks. So, you know, just one of the great reasons to have Wild Soul in your lineup. 260 GPM. He's a suicide hero that, as I've heard said, he gets a Mock of Brilliance at 25 to 28 minutes. And once he does have that item, he of course does have a farming tool, and he has something that's going to be able to deactivate things like portal keys, like you might have on Keeper of the Forest or Tundra, and of course do a lot of damage in those team fights. Mock of Brilliance, actually, in addition to the Withering Presence here from Soul Reaper, would be a ton of damage in these team fights, being put out, just kind of ambient damage. Pharaoh in some trouble, though. The Hellfire is activated. He will be going down, though. Magnus does take the root, and in comes the charge from Tundra, but they're going to turn it around. The Black Hole is going to be coming out here from Tempest, and Tundra is now in a little bit of trouble as they do not have a whole lot else, and there's no ports coming in. Death Pulse being activated. Tundra is going to go down. The Lava Surge onto Tree, and he goes down as well. So Team Please looking strong with that team fight. They're going to be able to push down this tower as well with no one else really in the vicinity to defend that. They're looking good. Empath, of course, is inside of Sandwraith. They were looking like they might have wanted to teleport in, but Sandwraith doesn't use that one. Instead, they're going to start pushing down this top tower. Looks like they do, in fact, defend the... Nope. Tempest minions get that one with their dying breath. They say, "Our tower," and take those gold coins home and spirit them away into the pockets of the Hellborn team. So with that, Please team is now up 3,000 gold and 3,500 experience here at 12 minutes into the game, and looking very good. The Wild Soul pick doing work for them in that bottom lane, And of course, the Tempest getting his thing done in the jungle. Mag Engine lane, even relatively successful in both the top and middle lanes. And of course, Soul Reaper doing very well right now, farming 290 GPM. Tempest, the top farmer in the game, at 340. So he's done extremely well for himself in the jungle. And he's even gotten 3 hero kills in addition to the kill on the top tower. So that is very nice. Tundra does have that haste bottled up. We'll see if he tries to use that to get a gank going on at some point here. Tempest does actually have that portal key as well. The bird's going to spot him out, though, and with the invisibility being applied onto Keeper of the Forest, actually, he could be in a little bit of trouble as the Hellfire is going to come in. The auto attacks are going out from Tempest as well, and we'll see. This could be another big team fight as Pharaoh and Keeper of the Forest once again kind of caught out of position away from their team. And Sandwraith ult being activated. Will they actually use it this time? They do, and they catch Tempest with the Wrath of the Pharaoh. The Root's going to go down, catching nothing but boo-boo. Keeper of the Forest is trying to get away, and a nice turret going to be coming out there, preventing a little bit from coming back in. Pharaoh is going to fall in the middle of the energy field with the Lava Surge coming out from Zozo Osos. Excuse me, Lava Surge coming out from Jakti. Legion team in full retreat as Engineer and Magnus are trying to catch somebody here. And I think they might be able to get the Empath. Empath trying to dig in. Keg going to be going down onto Keeper of the Forest, though. And Keeper is actually going to be the one in trouble as the Ward of Revelation is dropped. Back comes Sandwraith. He's going to apply the Desert's Curse. And it looks like that was enough to drive them off. Empath will, in fact, be able to get the TP on out of there. And he says, I'll see you in the base. Team Please continues to extend their lead here up to 4,000 gold and experience, and looking good. Magnus picks up his portal key, so a nice early 15-minute portal key for their Strength Initiator. Very nice to have, of course. Soul Reaper picks up an Astrolabe. That's going to be his first item of choice, following Steam Boots and a Power Supply. Tempest with the portal key that he's had for quite some time now. We'll see. Oh! Nice intuition right there. Gets the teleport on out right before the Wrath of the Pharaoh comes in. If he'd been caught by that, very well could have died. Tundra was, of course, in the vicinity with his Avalanche and Piercing Shards available, in addition to that level 1 Cold Shoulder. So goes with 1 point in that just for a little bit of mobility. Using Piercing Shards to get the stack onto those creeps. I like that quite a bit. Sword of the High was just picked up here by Boo Boo. If we take a look at the bear, Red Boots and Sword of the High. So he now finds himself about 1,300 gold away from finishing up the Mock of Brilliance and making himself a much more scary bear. A little more scary than your average bear, which is already a pretty fearsome being, to be honest. But he's done very well for himself. Now at 270 GPM. Not looking so bad. On the other side, Sandwraith, 270 gold per minute, has finished up Steam Boots as well as HoN of the Black Legion. His initiation coming in here mid. Tundra in some trouble. The Demonic Execution comes out. A Tempest Elemental Void catching 4 players. Magnus is trying to channel up his ultimate, but is interrupted by the health link from Tempest, a Lava Surge, another missed Wrath of the Pharaoh, and there's just chaos going on all over the place. The Avalanche comes in, pushes a couple of players around, but it looks like Please team is going to be able to take this team fight. Tundra bought back and died once again in the middle of things. Down goes Empath once again, and it looks like Please team finds himself in a fantastic lead here. 8,500 golden experience. Mock of Brilliance finished up at 17 minutes into this game. So looking very, very strong. Middle tower will be falling as well. So with that, they'll be able to compound that lead all the way up to 10,000 gold. A lot of these players looking pretty damned wealthy at this point. The Magnus with an additional 1,700 gold. Mighty Blade being picked up onto Tempest. So he's going to be working toward that shrunken head. Wildsoul, of course, finishes his Mock of Brilliance in there. Engineer is even working on something. He purchased something with his gold. He was sitting at about 1,100 a minute ago. Soul Reaper is on 1,800, so it'll be interesting to see what item he goes for next, whether he goes to that tanky route, maybe a little bit more mana regen route, with something like a Sheepstick or a Cyclone, but only time will tell. I think with the Soul Reaper against the enemy team, I'd like to see something like that Sheepstick come out. Disconnect coming in from Banana for the win on the tree. So the vote to concede is actually put up as GG is being called, and we'll see if it actually goes through. Clearly a little bit of frustration and dissent among the Legion team. That is a disconnect, of course, not a timeout. They're going to pause for the time being. And guys, well, we'll go ahead and go into that pause. I think we've talked a bit about how far ahead the Hellborn team is, and they're really just going to look to push down a lot of these outer towers. And I'm going to take this pause to actually talk a little bit about what's going on. Well, maybe the pause is going to be coming to an end. So, no, not going to be talking about anything like that for right now. Soul Reaper actually picks up a Shaman's Headdress. So he's going to be going for a Barrier Idol, which would be, you know, very nice to deal with the magic damage associated with the Desert's Curse from Sandwraith, with all the magic damage coming out from Pharaoh, magic damage there from Tundra, actually split magic and physical on a lot of those spells. There's really not a super ton of sustained magic damage coming out of the Legion team, so I don't know if that's super the best idea that I could have come up with for that Soul Reaper. The headdress himself will be nice, so if he doesn't upgrade that to a Barrier Idol immediately, I would not be surprised, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see. Pharaoh's missed a lot of Wrath of the Pharaohs. The Jellyfish, game info. This is on US East, and I am not quite sure where these teams are based out of. I want to say that Call It Karma is European, but I'm not positive. So maybe not frustration or dissent coming out of the Legion team. They were calling GGs, but looks like they're going to stick in with it for now. Desert's Curse being applied right there with Sandwraith, but he could be in some trouble as Boo Boo wants to get in there, wants to get that Mock of Brilliance damage done. Magnus is not there, though, so that's going to be their good stun for locking down that Sandwraith, who's now dug himself pretty deep on into these trees. He's trying to get out of position, knowing that he might be in a little bit of trouble. The Desert's Curse will spirit him through the rest of the trees, though, and through the forest. He will find safety. The Hellborn team continues to group up, knowing that they have a huge team fight advantage at this point. Major Totem picked up here on Engineer as well, so he's going to be working toward that push stick, which will be, of course, very, very useful against somebody like the Pharaoh, and even the Tundra and the Keeper of the Forest as well. Top tower goes down in retaliation by the Legion team, knowing that they're not going to be able to defend anything outside of their base at this point. Trying to opt for that counter push is a good decision, of course. Keeper just going to keep on pushing, but looks like the Hellborn team is going to retreat and maybe even drop a TP or two, try to catch some people out of position. Magnus is going to move up, and he'll be able to stop this push, but doesn't look like they're going to be able to pick up any kills. A lot of AoE damage going down right there with the Lava Surge and the Meteor. Magnus does not have any points in his Volcanic Touch right here, so as always, that's a little bit of a stylistic thing. Some players choose to put 1 or 2 points into the Steam Bath and then level up Volcanic Touch for that increased farming ability. Some players choose to max Steam Bath and never put a point into that Volcanic Touch until very late on into the game. In this case, Jockey is not going to be going for that one. Empath looking kind of poor in relation to the Engineer on the other team. Of course, when your team is in a 13,000 gold lead, your supports are going to look a little bit better with the Major Totem power supply, and even a Bound to Eye now for Engineer. He's looking good as opposed to just Striders and some consumables here for the Empath. Poverty Empath, that's what I call her. Sandwraith is saving up quite a bit of money right now, about 2,000 gold, so could be looking for that Sword of the High. Going for a Mock of Brilliance at this point on the Sandwraith. I don't know if I agree with that one. They need damage. they certainly need damage. They have 0 sustained damage on this Legion team, to be honest. They have ultimates, and they have... That's about it. They have their ultimates and then auto attacks. And their auto attacks aren't that powerful. So they really do need the damage, but Sandwraith also needs more stuff. So, I don't know. We'll see. Keeper of the Forest picks up a portal key, so he's going to be able to use that to get his initiation or counter initiation on, and of course always going to be useful for the Tempest, being able to interrupt that ultimate. The Hellborn team turns their attention toward Kongor now. The big monkey is going to give them a gift if they're left alone any longer. The Koro is going in and trying to get a little bit of scouting information and will in fact be able to spot the Magnus, who's relatively low on life here. Kongor stomping around and doing a lot of harassing the Hellborn team. Wild Soul is holding on to that eye with his red boots. He's sitting at 1700 life, a couple of minor totems, and you're set on that hero. No headdress though, which is interesting. They go for a barrier idol, thinking that the magic damage is enough to warrant that. But then no headdress onto the Wild Soul. Interesting, interesting. Speaking of barrier idol, that of course is finished. Tree goes in there and drops a root, which is immediately countered by a Tempest Elemental Void. Magnus is going to go in and lands a big eruption with the Lava Surge, taking out that tree. Engineer drops a nice ultimate, catching 3 players inside. Tundra is going to be falling as well, and down goes Pharaoh to complement the hat trick. Empath inside of Sandwraith. The Meteor going to clean up, do a little bit of deforestation, but with 3 players down, there's no way that they can contest this anymore. Okay, the GG well playeds come out as well as the concede. So Legion is going to say, okay, you guys got us there. I mean, the initiation by Tree, there was either some massive miscommunication or Tree just said, screw it, I'm going to throw this team fight so we can go on to the next game. But you can tell there's a little bit of dissent going on in the Karma ranks right now. And going into Game 3, it's going to be unfortunate, because if they're on tilt, that's not going to be ideal. That's for sure. But guys, we are going to go on... Magnus got killed by Kongor there at the end. Let's go ahead and update this scoreboard, because Karma now finds themselves evened up. Team Please is going to be able to bring it home with another victory, and so they're going to bring it into even. We're going to go to Game 3, guys, to decide who's going to be advancing into the Diamond Division and who's going to have to stick out in gold for another season. This has been Complexity Casting with me, your host, Beef. We're going to go ahead and get the next game set up, guys, and go to a very quick break. In the meantime, why don't you check out the info section. That is still a work in progress, but I've got some info up here on twitch.tv/ComplexityHoN. You can, of course, click on either of the 2 links that say VODs for tournaments or scrims. Those are sorted up in that way. And then, of course, some information about myself with all of my social media and Complexity Gaming. Going to be adding more and more to that info section throughout the week, so look for that to keep on getting better and better. But guys, we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. It's Complexity HoN.